The following is a presentation of Retro Sports Network, home of the champions of the past, present, and or future. And indeed, this is our 1978 League Championship Preview show. So, we'll be crowning a past champion and, of course, in the future. That really makes no sense, does it? Anyway, so my name is Ron Juckett. Welcome to the program. If you're watching it this week, starting the 27th of September, then you'll actually get to see this while the championship series are being played. So we got to the end of our 1978 regular season, and I'll show you the final standings in a moment. And we're going to go through the four teams that made it and then tell you when you can find the games on live on twitch.tv/Retro Sports Network, and when approximately they'll be uploaded onto YouTube, because there's a 24-hour delay after the game is finished before they can go up that you can see it on YouTube. So that's what we got for you. We start this Sunday, the 27th of September at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on twitch.tv for the National League Championship Series. So let's take a look at the four teams that made it, shall we? And if you take a look, the final standings show that the Dodgers, Rangers, and Yankees all finished with 94 wins. All three teams finished with 94 and 68. Houston finished second in the National League West, 8 games behind. Cincinnati needed to make up a game against Pittsburgh. They're obviously not going to do that. They finished at 85 and 76. San Diego above 500. Was that the first time for the Padres? That might have been. San Francisco, a good year. Atlanta, it's Super Sports on Superstation, and it's super bad. In the East, the Phillies ended up winning the division by 6.5 games over Pittsburgh. But Dave Parker wins the Triple Crown. He is your National League MVP. Phil Niekro is your National League Cy Young Award winner. 2.38 ERA, third in the league. He's the only 20-game winner in the National League, and he was second in strikeouts. That's a Cy Young Award year if there ever was one. So Pittsburgh, the only other team in the East to finish above 500 at 91 and 70. If their bullpen had held, man, they could have won this thing. Montreal, Chicago, St. Louis, and New York round out the National League. The Mets had the largest deficit, 34 games out of first place. American League West, Texas ends up winning by 4 games over Kansas City at 94 and 68. Kansas City at 90 and 72. No three-peat for the Royals. The Rangers, Baseball Demos has them going to the playoffs as well in 77. For us, they go to the playoffs for the very first time, and they will play the New York Yankees. Let's first finish up the West. The Twins at 83 and 79. California finished within 5 games in real life, 78 and 84 in the replay. Chicago at 76 and 85. Seattle and Oakland. That's football season there already. The Yankees repeated. This is their 3rd straight American League East crown, 94 and 68. Baltimore almost found themselves in a situation where they could have kept playing and playing and playing, but they finished a game and a half out at 92 and 69. Milwaukee, their starters were outside of. Let me put up the stats. Mike Caldwell and Larry Sorensen went 42 and 20, and then everyone else. So 4 games out. Detroit finished 4th at 85 and 77. Boston underperformed by 17 games. They went 82 and 80. Jim Rice didn't win the Triple Crown. He is your MVP. 58 homers, tied for a franchise record with Jimmy Fox, and he does have the RBI franchise record with 179. Rice won the RBI title by 53. Cleveland had a good year. They finished 6th at 77 and 82. The East was tough, so congratulations to the Yankees for that. And Toronto, 65 and 96. Now, Guidry, 2nd in ERA, tied for 2nd in wins, and the strikeout total by 1 over Ryan. Ron Guidry is our Cy Young Award winner. Gary Serum, our American League Rookie of the Year, 1.87 ERA, 19 and 7, and 23 starts, and a whip of 1.042. So Matlack just missed contending. Jim Palmer had a good year too. And Sorensen, 25 wins. But Guidry was just fantastic. All right, we start our review with the Dodgers. Steve Garvey had 289 total bases. Ronnie Say, 27 homers. Garvey drove in 105 and hit 306. As far as pitchers are concerned, Bert Hooten's going to get the Game 1 start. He went 19-8 with an ERA of 2.76 and a whip under 1. Don Sutton will start Game 3, 17-14. Pitched well down the stretch, but his ERA is at 3.85. Bob Welch will start Game 2. He started 13 games and finished 10. He went 10-4, and his whip of 9.44 leads the team. But Welch will have to go that extra day, so it'll be Hooten and Welch in Philadelphia. Sutton will go Game 3, and then it'll either be John Rao or Roden in Game 4. And my guess is it's probably Roden. But if you need a lefty, you got it there. So what intrigues me most about the Dodgers as we look forward to the LCS is that they are kind of the opposite, or the real life, or the replay version, rather, the Boston Red Sox, except for the fact that the Dodgers have speed. They got there because they could hit. You have two players with 100 runs, and you have two more with over 80, and Reggie Smith had 77 runs. They scored 759 runs in 162 games. The bad news is their ERA is really high. It's 3.54, and at one point that was 8th in the National League. National League has plenty of pitching. 60 complete games for Tommy Lasorda's crew and only 23 saves. So we'll see what the Dodgers can do. They did well the last week of the year. They went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-1 the last week. So they're going in on a relative high, despite the fact that they kind of scuffled through most of the month of September. ERA 3.54 is about a half a run less than what it was or about 0.4. But the 261 batting average is very good. And hey, 94-68 won 3 of the 4 divisions. The Phillies, you can see their ERA of 3.20 and a batting average of 2.52. So the Dodgers have a better offense, but the Phillies have better pitching. In fact, we think it's going to be Larry Christensen in Game 1. He went 17-10 with an ERA of 2.82 and a whip of 1.059. And in Game 2, Dick Ruthven, who came over from Atlanta, in 20 starts, he went 12-5 with an ERA of 2.32 and a whip of 9.37. Steve Carlton should go Game 3, 16-11, not terrible, an ERA of 3.73. And then if they need a Game 4 pitcher, that's probably going to be Jim Cott. Randy Lurch will do some bullpen work, and Jim Longborg will be watching on television with the rest of us. Phillies, by the way, 48 complete games, and their pen is good, 31. You got Tug McGraw, Ron Reed, Warren Brewster for starters, and so Philadelphia is set. Average or hitting-wise, they slugged 135 homers. Greg Luzinski, a monster year. He hit 246, 33 homers, drove in 107. He did strike out 153 times. The Dodgers might be able to take full advantage of that. As a team, they fanned 893 times. Schmidt and Maddox also whiffed over 100. Schmidt had a better year than he did in real life. 27 homers, 94 RBI. He hit 256. Larry Boa, a very good year. He hit 307. Phillies have speed. Boa, Maddox, and McBride all stole more than 25 bases. In fact, as a team, they stole 173. So we'll see what Philadelphia can do. They had some big games against Pittsburgh. They finished well down the stretch, and again, 98-64. So the Phillies are sitting pretty. We'll see what their Game 1 lineup will look like. They also had 233 doubles. They can put runners on base. And they can bunt. They had 54 sacrifice bunts on the year. to the American League. Now, the Yankees hit .272 as a team. Their offense is incredible. Where they're going to run into trouble is with their starting pitching. They got Ron Guidry, and because they did not have to play a game 163, Ron Guidry gets the start in game 1 against the Texas Rangers. He hit 34 times. He went 22-6, a whip under 1 and an ERA of 2. That's pretty good. The Yankees' playoff hopes depend on Eddie Figueroa. It was kind of a Jekyll and Hyde year. He had 15 complete games and 35 starts, but he only went 15-14. He had a whip of 1.302 and an ERA of close to 4. That's really not going to get it done. He doesn't strike out a lot of batters. In fact, he walked 87 and struck out 85. He is a pitch-to-contact pitcher, and he got contacted an awful lot. He gave up 24 homers. And the other thing is, well, who do you go with after Guidry and Figueroa? Okay, so if you give Figueroa a loss in Game 2, you're split in Texas. And so who gets the start in Game 3? It'll likely be Catfish Hunter. He went 10-5 in 20 starts. He threw 158 innings, allowed 126 hits, and 20 home runs. But he had a whip of under 1 at .994 and an ERA of 3.47. If you need to use a 4-starter, it would be Dick Tidrow, 10-11, with a whip of 1.318, but the ERA of 4.19 is in the ballpark. Jim Beatty, no, not even close. He had a terrible year. But the strength of the Yankees is their pen. Rich Gossage and Sparky Lyle, between them, had 28 saves and went 18-10. Sparky, the lefty out of the pen, he's going to be one of those ones to just kind of watch out for. But because it's a best of 5, you can go with Gossage probably 4 of the 5 games, and he can go 2 innings a stint, 8-7, but with 26 saves and a whip of under 1. Hitting-wise, it was Greg Nettles who powered the Yankees. He hit .315, 34 homers, and 117 RBI. And had 10 sac flies, and an OPS of .926. Reggie Jackson, 32 homers, 100 RBI. Yes, he struck out 144 times, but he hit .306 and stole 15 bases. That's pretty gosh darn good. Chris Chambliss, only one of 3 players to have multiple digits in home runs. This team did it by moving the ball around. In fact, they had 27 sacrifice bunts. Thurman Munson, who, by the way, asked to be traded in 1978. He wanted to go to Cleveland, where he was home, for fortuitous reasons. A very good year, .282, 8 homers, and 81 RBI. So the Yankees can move the ball around. They're going to miss, however, Willie Randolph, who in 136 games hit .293, stole 37 bases, and scored 78 times. It's going to be Brian Doyle and Fred Stanley to platoon back and forth at second base. They do have Mickey Rivers and his 26 steals, .297 hitter on the leadoff position, and he scored 89 times. So, and Piniella will DH and so on and so forth. So the Yankees scored 747 runs and only allowed 638. They deserve to be here. Not as good as they were in real life in 1978, but when you look at what Nettles, Jackson, and Chambliss did and how the rest of the lineup kind of builds around from that, the Yankees are going to be a formidable force, and they're going to get games 3, 4, and 5 if needed at home. And as we said, Guidry will start game 1. He will probably start, though he certainly will start game 5 if it goes that far. And if the Yankees can, they might go with Guidry in game 4, depending on how Figueroa does. I think the key for New York is going to be whether Eddie Figueroa nails his playoff start. If they go back to New York at 1, it's catch as catch can. That puts all the pressure on Catfish Hunter. And so here's the big surprise coming in. Not really a surprise, because they finished 5 games out of first place. They improved their standings by 9 games. The Texas Rangers bring the playoffs to the Lone Star State for the first time. And they have 3 excellent pitchers. John Matlack, who finished second in the Cy Young voting, went 22-7, 33 starts, 24 complete games, a whip of 106.5, and an ERA of 2.20. He and Guidry will be the Game 1 starters. In Game 2, Texas will go with Ferguson Jenkins, who did allow more hits than innings pitched, but went 15-11 with an ERA of 3.34. He was able to slam the door, despite allowing 30 homers. Doyle Alexander is a projected Game 3 starter. He went 12-11 on the year. Whip is not great, 1.352, and an ERA of 3.77. Doc Ellis might be the swing man. He could get the start in Game 4. Steve Comer pitched well both out of the pen and in the rotation. Reggie Cleveland is the closer. But the heart of the Texas Rangers is the fact that you had 3 batters who could drive in runs. Al Oliver drove in 90 and hit 322. Richie Zisk hit 24 homers and drove in 90. He hit 274. And Bobby Bonds, coming over from the White Sox, hit 27 dingers, drove in 89, and stole 40 bases. Bump Wills stole 51. The Rangers, as a team, stole 208 and hit 137 home runs. The Rangers can manufacture runs, which is going to be key if Texas is going to get there. Because if they can beat Guidry, all the pressure is going to be on New York to split this series before going home. So, watch. The Rangers are not a fluke. They certainly are not a fluke. They only had 1 batter strike out more than 100 times. That's Bobby Bonds. Jim Sundberg still at 200 bases. They had 229 doubles and 29 triples. They can mash, and their team OPS is 718. All right, how do I see these series? I think if the Dodgers can hit well, they can beat Philadelphia. But they got to get out of Philadelphia with no worse than a split. I do not see the Dodgers winning 3 in a row. I like the fact that Houghton and Welch are going to carry them, and you're going to have the classic duel between Don Sutton and Steve Carlton in Game 3. If they need to use a 4-starter, they're going to be in trouble, I think. Philadelphia going to go with Christensen and Ruthven in Games 1 and 2. I like their chances. I think they're home. They can manufacture runs. They're on the turf. Their home crowd will be behind them. And so all good things, I think, for Philadelphia. But, the Dodgers won this series in 4 games in real life. So you just never know. If they split, I like the Dodgers' chances. If the Phillies win the first 2, I like the Phillies' chances. I think at least 4, if not 5. And then you would see Christensen and Houghton in Game 5. In the American League, the Yankees should be favored. You have Guidry and Figueroa. Figueroa was a 20-game winner in real life, and Guidry won 25. The Yankees started their rotation is solid. If the computer would allow 3 days rest, then you only would need the 1 start from Catfish Hunter and with the Yankees bullpen, especially Gossage. You got to like the Yankees' chances. They really were that good. But Texas deserves to be here. With the frontline offense of Oliver, Zisk, and Bonds, they can drive in runs. You had Bert Campaneris with 34 sack bunts. They had 90 sacrifice bunts. They're going to play some small ball, and they're going to steal some bases. So Texas can slow the game down and manufacture some runs. The Rangers have a real chance. I think, sadly, because of how they did the divisional rotations, Texas would rather have the series end in Arlington and not begin there. So I'm going to go the Yankees in 4 and the Phillies in 5. 4. So I think both series are going to go 4 games, and I'm going to have a New York-Philadelphia World Series. But don't be surprised if the Dodgers get there. I think the Dodgers are actually are pretty close in the talent level-wise. I just think Philly's starting pitching is that much better. The Yankees have some question marks. The Rangers have never been in the postseason before. All right, so let's show you the playoff schedule. We start with the National League Championship Series. The Dodgers and the Phillies live this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, live on twitch.tv/Retro Sports Network. Because of the delay, after do 24 hours, because I get paid by Twitch. You'll see Game 1 Monday night, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, approximately on YouTube. I got to go the 24 hours after. So Game 1, Dodgers and Phillies, Sunday live and Monday on YouTube. Game 2 would be noontime tomorrow or Monday, 9 a.m. Pacific. And, of course, with the tape delay for YouTube, 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. So those are the first 2 games of the Dodgers and the Phillies. As we said, Game 1, Houghton and Christensen. Game 2, Welch and Dick Ruthven. Ooh, that's bright, isn't it? And so then we begin with the American League Championship Series from Arlington Stadium in Arlington, Texas. It's Ron Guidry and John Matlack, prime time, Monday night, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, to watch it live. And if you gotta wait for the tape delay, don't worry about it. 9 o'clock Tuesday night, approximately, or 6 p.m. on YouTube. So that's Game 1 of the American League Championship Series. Game 2, a lunchtime special Tuesday, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, from Arlington, or Wednesday afternoon at 1:10 a.m. Pacific for the tape delayed release. Or you could just watch it, that's the whole NBC thing. Eddie Figueroa and Ferguson Jenkins will go in Arlington for Game 2. We return back to the National League, Game 3 Wednesday night, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, live on twitch.tv/Retro Sports Network, and of course on delay Thursday at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific p.m. on YouTube. It'll be Steve Carlton for the Phillies and Don Sutton for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Game 4, if needed, would be Thursday at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, live on twitch.tv. And, of course, the delay, Friday at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Your guess is as good as mine who's going to pitch. Depends on the situation in the series. And, of course, Game 4 is if needed. Thursday night in prime time. No, you don't need to watch football. You can come watch us, the Rangers and the Yankees. Game 3 from the stadium in New York. It'll be to be determined for the Texas Rangers against Catfish Hunter for the Yankees. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. 9 o'clock Friday night, the release time for that on the tube, 6 p.m. Pacific time. And if we need Game 4, it will be Friday at noon on YouTube between the Rangers and the Yankees, or Saturday at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And again, pitchers to be determined. If the National League Championship Series goes the distance, Game 5 will be Friday night at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, live on twitch.tv/Retro Sports Network, or you can wait and watch it 24 hours after the fact, Saturday at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on YouTube. And pitchers to be determined, of course, and that is if we need it. And if the Rangers and the Yankees go the distance, well, that would be Saturday night at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Pretty much the odd number games are in prime time, and the even number games are going to be during the day. And if we go the distance, Sunday at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on YouTube for its release. And if you're wondering about the World Series, it'll be the 6th of October, Game 1. That's a Tuesday night from the home of the National League winners, American versus National League, at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, live on Tuesday, October 6th, and the standard 24-hour delay on YouTube. And remember, because it's an even-numbered year in the era of the DH, in that particular era, although the National League will get to host Games 1 and 2, they use the DH, so keep that in mind. Now, as we say goodbye to you for the moment, remember, I don't really have a skin in these games. It doesn't really matter to me who wins. If I make a mistake, I make a mistake. I try to play everybody as even as I can. I'll be managing the home teams in each of the ball games and changing the visiting pitchers as necessary, because that's how we do these things. So don't give me a hard time. If I make a mistake, I make a mistake. Have fun watching these live. If you're joining us on twitch.tv, remember we'd love to have you. And so either noon or 8 Eastern Time. So there you go. That's the Final Four. I'm Ron Juckett. Join us later for baseball. Until then, have yourself a great day, everybody.